Hello, welcome back. I hope you weren't, too sad without some weekend recap yesterday. But we're back again. Let's get right into this review of Tuesday's Champions League matches. Chelsea versus Lille are up first. So Chelsea hosted the French champions at Stamford Bridge, and considering the form of the French champions, who are in mid-table Ligue 1 form at the moment, this result wasn't really a surprise, was it? 2-0 Chelsea, the final in this one. I think if you were to look at the attempts alone, probably one of the most hit or miss stats when it comes to judging how a match went, but Lille's 15 to Chelsea's 9 are a red herring and shouldn't be taken too seriously. The majority of their attempts were from distance, as Chelsea, with the help of the brilliant Mateo Kovacic and, of course, N'Golo Kante, limited them to striking from distance. In fact, Lille accumulated an XG of just 0.66 in this one from 15 attempts, which tells you all you need to know, really, compared to Chelsea's, as you can see here. It was typical of Tuchel's side. Limit the opportunities, limit them to strikes from distance, and bar any worldies, they probably wouldn't score. For Chelsea, on the other hand, they found their opener from a corner kick, and it wasn't who you'd expect to get on the end of it, but Kai Havertz instead. He continues to be in some great form at the moment, as it does in some ways feel as though he's starting to turn the corner and get used to life under Tuchel. At Leverkusen, he was scoring a ton as he filled in as a striker quite well, and he showed that he can provide a threat aerially if he can get back to that kind of form, which it feels like he could now as the main man for Chelsea without any interruptions. Then Chelsea will be all the better for it. The second goal for Chelsea, an incredible driving run from Kante, who did all the work to get the ball up the pitch and draw a couple defenders toward himself, and left it on a plate to the left for Pulisic, and he finished well. Solid finish from Pulisic, lifting it over Leo Jardim and into the goal to give Chelsea the 2-0 lead. And this looked a bit like the Chelsea that stormed to the final last season, didn't it? In some ways at least. Defensively solid, getting the clean sheet against Lille, icing out the Iceman, Jonathan David, as he was made to play very deep, whereas he typically likes running in behind. Don't play a high line and don't allow Lille to transition quickly, and he's far less of a threat. This did come at a cost to Chelsea, however, as both Mateo Kovacic and Ziyech went off injured. That's something to monitor ahead of their clash against Liverpool on the weekend. And speaking of which, it begs a further question for Tuchel. Lukaku didn't touch grass once against Lille. He started on the bench and he stayed on the bench. Consult your heat maps for that one. But seriously, with Havertz showing how dynamic he can be with Chelsea's attack, looking much more dynamic with Havertz starting as the striker, and he likes to float into the inside right and the inside left channels, as you can see here, while Pulisic, you heard complaints of where he was being played prior to this, and then you play him in a role closer to his preferred position, and he kills it. But anyway, I'm getting off track here. Regarding Lukaku, how does their record signing make his way back into this team? If I'm Thomas Tuchel, which I'm clearly not, I'm a dude sitting next to a plant. This is Plantini, for anyone who doesn't know, talking to a camera all alone in an echoey room. But if I'm Tuchel, I'm sticking with Havertz. I'm sticking with Pulisic and Ziyech, if he's healthy, and with Kante behind them making those surging runs and breaking up play. Like I said, they look reminiscent of that team that steamrolled last season once the German took over. Chelsea look worse with Lukaku on the pitch, as my friend Elizabeth Hellenick said prior to the match. They actually averaged more goals without Lukaku on the pitch than with him on it. And as pointed out by others, he had just 7 touches against Norwich. Clearly, it doesn't work when he's out there, at least at the moment, and Chelsea look better for it with Havertz on the pitch. Give him an extended run, let that left foot get warm, Anyway, that's me trying to channel what it's like being a Chelsea supporter, which, it felt great actually. It's a lot nicer at the moment than being a Benfica supporter, which is the reality I do live in. But Chelsea with a commanding lead, going away to Lille 2-0. In some respects, it almost feels pointless to provide any sort of analysis on a match that ends in a draw in the Champions League now. Without the away goals rule, they're basically resetting and playing a single leg elimination in the second leg, similarly to what we saw between Bayern and Salzburg. That's another one where the first leg is pointless, but we go anyway. So, Juve played some very, very pragmatic football in this one, but it wasn't all down to design, or wasn't exactly how Allegri had planned it, I don't think. A lot of credit has to go to Unai Emery and his Villarreal side that were looking the more positive team throughout, looking like they really wanted to go at that Juve back line, which, by the way, And looking at the shape of the respective teams, when Juve was attacking, it was a 4-4-2 with Cuadrado and either Alexandro or De Sciglio looking to push up the pitch and provide some width, while in defense they would drop back into a back five with Morata joining the left side of the midfield to create a bank of four in front of the back five. So a 5-4-1, leaving Vlahovic completely alone up top, which was the theme for a lot of this. Villarreal, on the other hand, would almost become like a 3-3-4 when they were attacking. It was amazing to see as Juan Foyth would tuck in alongside Etienne Capoue and Parejo in the midfield when they had possession, of course, in Juve's defensive third of the pitch, and Pedraza, a fullback on paper, but as you can see from this heat map here, as we look at the average positions of the Villarreal players, he was basically a winger, interchanging with Moreno to make those overlapping runs to try and give Cuadrado and Danilo a bit of a hard time. Juve honestly were playing kick and chase and were pinned deep into their own half, and their only outball was to hit it and hope that Vlahovic or Morata would get on the end of it. And I mean, Vlahovic did just that, just 32 seconds into the match. I was still talking with the chat during my live stream at this point when Danilo hoofed it up the pitch. Vlahovic got between Pau Torres and Albiol, and his strike across the face of goal, I mean, it did look savable for Rulli in my opinion, but considering it went in off of the post, I guess you could say he truly tucked that one in. But I still think Rulli could have gotten a hand to it. But hey man, a goal on his UCL debut took just 32 seconds. Massive for Dusan Vlahovic. From there, Juve were sitting very, very deep, trying to force Villarreal into wider positions and then make the middle where Juve's back three and sometimes two midfielders would be there to pick off crosses. The most part, it worked. Middle was locked down and only two notable opportunities. One was just a half chance that Danjuma flicked at goal with his heel, while Lo Celso hit the post when he had Szczesny beat. So if I was to channel a Juve supporter, I think I would be annoyed as I was watching this game. I mean, I was annoyed watching this game because there wasn't much to be excited about, really. And while you have an answer to an improved midfield in Denis Zakaria on the bench, you still have to watch as a mental lapse from Adrien Rabiot leads to Villarreal getting a goal. Like I said, Juve had the central point of entry, if you want to call it that, the middle of the park, locked down in defense for the most part, but with Rabiot just switching off, it gave Parejo the opportunity to waltz in completely unchallenged, and he finished coolly past Szczesny to tie it up at 1-1. Now, I know Rabiot is getting torched for this, as he should, because he didn't follow his man, but De Ligt also followed Lo Celso, as you can see, and Lo Celso was running out of the box, as you can see in this image. In doing so, De Ligt left a massive, massive hole for Parejo to run into. So yes, Rabiot did poorly in not following Parejo, but De Ligt following the run of Lo Celso out of the box when he didn't need to did also ruin their defensive shape, as he clumped next to Bonucci and Danilo. So a bit of blood on his hands for allowing that part of the pitch to open up like that, though if Rabiot tracks his man, it doesn't happen. It's kind of a chicken versus egg situation. So also blood on Rabiot's hands there, and much more later. His challenge on Chukwueze was embarrassing, really. Studs on the knee of the player. It could have been a season ender for Chukwueze. Really, I have no clue how this isn't a red. You simply cannot rake a player's leg like that from the knee all the way down to his heel. I mean, it feels ridiculous to even have to say that. You can't do that, you know? Stunning that it wasn't a red. But hey, according to some Juve supporters, it may have been a bigger punishment to have him on the pitch. But with Artur and Rabiot out there at the same time, you know, Juve looked a bit poor, didn't they, in the midfield? Part of it's down to Villarreal's counter-pressing as they caused issues. I mean, look at the heat map, man. Villarreal were all over them, really. Less than a quarter of the match was spent in Villarreal's end of the pitch. But an even bigger headache for Juve, both De Sciglio and Weston McKennie are now added to their growing list of injured players. Unclear at the time of recording just how bad it is for De Sciglio, but it looked bad for McKennie, who needed a lot of help off of the pitch. I mean, just get the man a damn stretcher, for goodness sake. They made him hop out of there from the opposite side of the pitch. In fact, now there's rumors that McKennie had a fracture of two metatarsals. No surprise there. He fell very awkwardly, and then he had to hop off the pitch with broken metatarsals. Anyways, it'll be interesting to see if Villarreal and Juventus take a similar approach in the next leg, which isn't for a few weeks now. Villarreal will be praying that Gerard Moreno will be back, and that could be decisive for them. Really impressed by Villarreal. I thought they would be the ones that were playing bunker ball, but no, Allegri. All right, ladies and gentlemen, that will be all from me today, but of course, we will have a watch along today and another video tomorrow and another after that on Friday. So thank you so much for taking the time with me and have a great day. Ciao.